Now there ain't nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bond, so ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form, turn L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack 2023 Fantasy Football Team Previews. We're going to be covering the New England Patriots. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, covering the AFC East, is Dylan Clemons. And before we jump into stuff here, just want to ask everybody to hit that subscribe button, leave those comments. We appreciate it. And then, of course, we've got our all-access memberships over at FantasySixPack.net. Go to FantasySixPack.net/plans, sign up to become an all-access member, and you're going to get access to our award-winning rankings, our draft cheat sheet, our Discord, where you can ask all of us any of your personal league questions that you have. There's going to be a bunch more, guarantee it, guys. Go ahead and jump in on those. Without further ado, man, let's jump into our New England Patriots preview. And we're going to be starting off with our quarterbacks. Not the sexiest room in the world for fantasy, but Mac Jones leads the way. Very capable NFL quarterback, right? Yep. Bailey Zappi. And then Trace McSorley, old Penn State guy. I don't know. I don't really know what to do with this quarterback room as far as fantasy. Mac Jones will have some like streaming appeal, in my opinion, but it is really anything standing out to you here as far as fantasy relevant value that you're interested in outside of like 2 QB leagues?
Yeah. No, man, I don't really think so. I mean, at least they got a real offensive coordinator this year.
That is true. That is true.
Coming in, because last year, whatever they were doing with Joe Judge and Matt Patricia obviously didn't work, and we saw Mac Jones regress from rookie season Max. So, but last year he really the only good stats I could find was he was 11th in deep ball percentage, and he killed man coverage, sitting 11th in the league against man coverage. But it was really zone that really gave him issues. He was 30th in the league, Joe, in passer rating against zone coverage, according to playerprofiler.com. So, but hopefully the better offensive coordinator, you'd like to think the offense will be better in general with some additions. But yeah, nothing more than streaming appeal, like you said, and super flex 2 quarterback leagues.
Yeah, I mean, touchdown rates 3.2% last year, under 3,000 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. It's just not good. I mean, just really not good. He really needs to take a step forward this year. Otherwise, I would have to believe the Patriots will be looking for another quarterback next season if he does not take a step up. And I mean, we've seen games from him doing it. The problem is he really just doesn't have the weapons. Now they're trying to reload a little bit, you can tell, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I don't think it's going to do quite what they're hoping. But over to the running backs here, we do have Rhamondre Stevenson, last year's fantasy darling. He was awesome. James Robinson comes in. We got Ty Montgomery and Pierre Strong Jr. rounding things out here. Anyone to you, like, I mean, is there anyone here that can kind of hold back Rhamondre, maybe like a Damian Harris did, at times when Harris was healthy? Then, I mean, obviously Stevenson just kind of took over last year, but could James Robinson be that guy? Ty Montgomery was pretty good when he was healthy last year at times. Was definitely like a huge pass catching back when he was healthy for them, kind of taking that James White role over. Anybody like that you think could really limit Stevenson's upside here?
I think it would be Ty Montgomery, kind of what you alluded to already, because Stevenson saw a 17% target share for a running back last season, Joe, which was 4th in the entire league. And that's what Ty Montgomery could take away. I'm not too worried about James Robinson. I think we kind of know what he is at this point, kind of an early down grinder who might get a drive here and there just to spell Rhamondre. But when Rhamondre kind of took over the backfield, we saw how good he was, man. He was number 3 in evaded tackles. He's just a stud. He finished his top 10 fantasy points per game at the position. So it was just a great year from Rhamondre. But he is going, I would assume he's going to go pretty early in drafts. So I'm not sure if I'm going to have, quite as many shares as I did last year because the value's a lot different here.
Yeah, I still get a little scared off from New England running backs. They like to mess around. And man, wouldn't it be a Patriots thing to bring in like a Zeke or like a Fournette and just screw everybody over in late July, early August, after a bunch of best balls have gone through, your early Scott Fish Bowls, just be like, you know what? We're going to add this guy. Just screw Stevenson being like the lead dog. Like we don't like that. Yeah. The one thing I will say is because of Mac Jones and the lack of his, boom potential here, they are running the ball a hell of a lot more than they used to, obviously, when Tom Brady was there. Tom Brady was Mr. Wait, we're running the ball? Check, check, check. No, I'm good. Like, I'm just going to pass the ball all the time outside of, my quarterback sneaks. Now, that's the one thing I kind of worry with James Robinson because he is, he can, maybe kind of plod into the end zone there every now and then. But I still think it's Stevenson. I do not know his ADP off the top of my head because, again, ADP data is really not super relevant right now. But it's it will be interesting to see how used Ty Montgomery will be in this offense as a pass catcher because he's very, very good at that. All right, over here to receivers. And again, we kind of alluded to them trying to reload a little bit. They brought in JuJu Smith-Schuster from Kansas City. Didn't have the greatest year. Not the guy he was with Pittsburgh back in the day. Not even close. Devontae Parker still hanging around. Kendrick Bourne, Tyquan Thornton, Kayshon Boutte, Matthew Slater. I mean, I guess Juju and Parker, well, maybe not even Parker. Juju's going to get drafted. I guarantee it. We've seen Jacoby Myers is gone. He had some pretty good games last year. Does Juju just slide right into that role, and maybe we can see a pretty decent year from him in a very limited passing offense? Does somebody like Tyquan Thornton kind of bounce, take a step up in year 2? What's your thoughts here with this receiving core?
We'd like to think Juju will be a little bit better than Myers was last year, and Myers only saw 95 targets last year. Like you said, a very limited share. Juju's going to be in the slot, you'd like to think. So hopefully he gets the short intermediate routes. But we need to see more than just 95 targets from that. And it was a 22% target share as well. So it's, I don't know. Tyquan Thornton's kind of dart throwy at the end of drafts. He's a total deep leg kind of guy. He was number 10 in ADOT last year. And he's fast for sure. It'd be nice for the Patriots as a team if he really took a step forward, but fantasy relevant, not really too sure about that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say he's more of like a best ball guy, but I'm starting to learn that even those deep ball, oh man, if he just catches 1 or 2, but as Davis, who, by the way, thank you, Davis, for the awesome intro videos.
Yes,
keep forgetting to say that early on. As Davis has taught me many times, our best ball expert over here at Fantasy Six Pack, he could literally be a 0 value player for you, meaning he's never going to be in your lineup because he just doesn't score enough points. He's going to have to catch 3 passes for 120 yards and a touchdown. He's going to have that 180-yard touchdown in order to get into your lineup.
Yep.
Just 1 week a year? he just hasn't shown enough consistency for me to want to draft him.
Yeah,
So
sense.
he's just one of those guys that seems like a better player for best ball than you think, but think twice about those types of guys.
Sure. Good point.
Finish off here with our tight ends, and name value wise, it's a hell of a tight end room, man.
Yeah.
But we just never know what to expect from this tight end room. It's almost turning into like running back room for them. Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Anthony Ferkser. I mean, all three guys that have all been fantasy relevant at some point.
Yep.
Gesicki obviously comes over from the Dolphins. Hunter Henry over here. I feel like they're still trying to find that Gronk and Hernandez 1-2 punch with it, and I just don't think it's working. Hunter Henry was like super touchdown dependent last year. I mean, are you interested? I think Ferkser's kind of the odd man out with these three.
Yep.
But like Henry and Gesicki, out of these two, I'm curious as to which one you like more.
It's honestly so hard to say right now, Joe. I think Gesicki a little bit, just because he's more athletic. I think he brings a little bit more of a red zone threat. But I don't know if either guy's going to have enough to go around here. Like Hunter Henry only had 59 targets last year, and when I looked that up, that was kind of astonishing to me. Like I thought he was much more relevant in that offense, but he really wasn't. But I think some weeks you'll be able to stream Gesicki. Hunter Henry, I'm a little bit more weary on there. Would you lean Henry or Gesicki yourself?
I'm leaning Henry.
Okay.
Gesicki. Sorry, I'm leaning Gesicki. I think they brought him in as a more of the pass catching threat. I mean,
sure.
We said this, and we did record the Dolphins one before this episode. So we said this in that episode that Gesicki blocking isn't, quite up to par. It's not the greatest. So you don't bring in Gesicki to stay in and block like they did with the old Titans guy. Blanking on his name right now.
Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, Johnny Smith could block, man. He was great. He's also a great pass catcher, but he could also block. So they kept him in. Henry is more of the route runner, but I think it might flip this year a little bit, and Gesicki can go out, and they're going to use both of them as pass catching weapons as well. But I think Gesicki has proven that if you just get him enough targets, man, he can be a decent weapon, and it's just a matter of getting him the ball. And they lack, even with Devontae Parker there, he's getting older. He doesn't have the juice he used to, man. Definitely. JuJu's not a red zone guy. They need a red zone target, and like being able to run both of these guys out could be really key inside the red zone, I believe. And so I think they're going to be streamable. They're going to be super touchdown dependent, but obviously who isn't touchdown dependent after what?
Agreed.
The top 5 tight ends, maybe? Once you get past Goddard, really, at number 5, we're talking Wallers and Ingrams and Freiermuths and Njokus and, God forbid, Kyle Pitts, right? All these guys, touchdown dependent. I guarantee you, Gesicki and or Henry at some point will be on a waiver wire article going, either this week's a good matchup or they're starting to use them more in the red zone. We're seeing all the statistics go up for them. So it's going to happen, and it's just going to be, flip of the coin, and then you'll drop them 2 weeks later. That's just what happens with these types of tight ends, unfortunately. So, all right, man. Well, that is it for the New England Patriots preview. I thank you all for watching. And again, hit those subscribe buttons and become an All Access member at Fantasy Six Pack. See you next time.